are homeless, and the fires are still burning.
With every passing hour, the search for missing loved ones intensifies. Families are begging for help on social media.
Did you find him? Do you see him anywhere?
Amid all the chaos, an outpouring of aloha, donation drives are multiplying to get families the supplies they desperately need.
It can't happen fast enough.
And the breaking news continues on Maui tonight, where the death toll in Lahaina has risen to 53 lives lost.
But officials say that number is still expected to climb. The governor also said today that as many as 1,000 structures have been destroyed. Firefighters are making progress battling the 3 active blazes. The largest, the Lahaina fire, is now 80% contained. The Pulehu fire in an area Mauka of Kihei is said to be 70% contained. A containment percentage for the fire upcountry in Kula is still pending. State, county, and federal officials are telling the public tonight that help is on the way.
Another staggering number this evening. Maui's police chief says about 1,000 people are still missing. We have team coverage tonight. Our reporters standing by with new information and video. We'll start with Daryl Huff, who was just at the governor's news conference in Wailuku. Daryl?
Yes, Kiahi, the news conference was attended by media from all over the country. This is a major story, and it was limited to only an hour. So really many questions did not get answered. And I think that the main thing that came across was a very powerful description of how much they don't know. That number of 1,000 structures, they don't dispute it, but they say they're sticking to their earlier number of 271 structures, et cetera, et cetera. But Governor Green, after touring this Lahaina today, came in with a very sobering description of what he saw and what we could expect ahead.
It is going to take many years to rebuild Lahaina. When you see the full extent of the destruction of Lahaina, it will shock you. It does appear like a bomb and fire went off, if I may. And all of those buildings virtually are going to have to be rebuilt. It will be a new Lahaina that Maui builds in its own image, with its own values. But it's going to be billions of dollars.
If you just want to say, the reason the number is varied is somebody would say, how many residences are gone? Well, if you got a condominium or an apartment building that has 20 units, is that a structure or is that 20 units? You decide how you want to count that. In this case, it doesn't matter because the whole thing is gone. So it really depends the way you phrase the question. That's the answer you're going to get. But the easy part is, I'm telling you, none of it's there. It's all burnt to the ground.
Now, the mayor did describe a little bit more fully what he means none of it is there. He said it's from Puamana Street, which is at the northern end of Lahaina, to Chart House at the southern end of of Lahaina, and Mauka to Makai from the highway to Front Street. Now, one of the things that people have been demanding, and I've talked to many people today, they want to see the maps that have been used to describe this damage, because they think that that will show that, here's the area, here's the pictures, they have Google Maps to compare it to, they have aerial photos. Why can't they show us the burn zone so we could say, oh, my grandma lived in that burn zone, and maybe let the authorities know so it could speed up the process of figuring out how many people are still there. One of the most sobering things we heard today was from the police chief, who said there are many, many bodies in the ground there, hinting that there is no way to know how many people have died and that that could get a lot worse. One glimmer of good news is that the federal government is promising to be fully funding many of those repairs. And finally, I'm not seeing any smoke. That's Central Maui. It doesn't mean the fires are gone, but it's a lot better than it was yesterday. Reporting live from Wailuku, Maui, Daryl Huff, Hawaii News Now.
All right, a lot to take in. Thank you, Daryl. President Biden has approved a national disaster declaration for Hawaii.
It unlocks federal resources to help in the massive response effort.
I've directed that we surge support to these brave firefighters and first responders and emergency personnel working around the clock there, risking their lives. I just got off the phone before I got here for a long conversation with Governor Josh Green this morning. Let him know I'm going to make sure the state has everything it needs from the federal government to recover.
California's Governor Gavin Newsom says he is deploying urban search and rescue teams to Maui. The Honolulu Fire Department is also sending 40 personnel, including firefighters and search and rescue specialists.
We have new aerial video of Lahaina tonight, shot by our crew, trying to get a better sense of the disaster zone. As Daryl Huff mentioned, the government hasn't provided any official estimate, but the fire cut through miles of this West Maui coastline. That gray wasteland now littered with gutted cars, buildings, and ash. The county says crews have begun to clear the streets with heavy machinery, but that process will take a very long time. An unknown number of residents whose homes were not burned are still there in Lahaina, desperately waiting for help.
Today, a convoy of vehicles carrying supplies found getting into the disaster zone isn't easy. Our Chelsea Davis joins us live with how residents are mobilizing to show support. Chelsea?
Yeah, Ke'ahi, Steph, I'm on the side of Honopi'ilani Highway in Ma'alaya, where things are a little bit more organized today. The National Guard is here, boots on the ground. I saw them out in Lahaina helping out, so great news. They also have these flashing orange signs all along Honopi'ilani Highway notifying drivers that only authorized vehicles are allowed into West Maui. So no longer are we seeing people waiting in their cars on the side of the road. They are checking them, and there are various checkpoints all along the highway. Again, only relief cars, donations, people who are helping and who are authorized are allowed to go in to help those on the west side. I was part of one of those authorized convoys that went out this morning, and we were escorted by a Maui police officer. We were taking goods to the people of West Maui. We dropped off goods to families in Napili and Honokauai, and it was shocking to me to see how many people are still left in West Maui. Not Lahaina, because there's not much left in Lahaina. Hardly anything is left there, but definitely thousands of people still in Ka'anapali, Kahana, Napili, and Honokauai, lining up for food, desperate for supplies.
Everybody's fighting for everything right now. But as my other half of them's family is, they lost everything. Everybody lost everything. We don't know how we feel. I don't know how you guys supposed to feel.
What do you guys need right now?
Food, gas, water, anything, clothes. Get people out here, no more nothing. They no more they no more clothes, they no more nothing out here. They need stuff out here. Supplies, hygiene. Who knows? Anything can help.
Ice is like gold out there. We literally saw people running to our trucks for ice because people still don't have power. And gas as well, people fighting over gas, even trying to climb up onto our trucks, trying to get to our supplies. We dropped off water, food, clothes, but a huge challenge is getting those goods to the people who are still left in Lahaina town. The few people who are left, the people that I met when I went out there with Maui firefighters yesterday. Power poles and power lines are all still scattered across the roads, so it's difficult getting access to the people who need it the most. Back out here live in Ma'alaya, cell service is still down, so people are still having a hard time getting in touch with their loved ones out there. And while I was out there, part of that convoy, I saw a bunch of reunions and emotional embraces. It's still very emotional to see that people are literally having to go out there to search for family members and just check and see if they're alive. Now, one thing that we did hear when we were out with Maui firefighters on the boat yesterday was the Coast Guard calling over the radio any boaters in the water in the area to please search for survivors. So even though this has been going on for a few days now, still not a lot of information for the residents out here. Reporting live in Ma'alaya, Chelsea Davis for Hawaii News Now.
All right, Chelsea, thank you. Maui County today opened a center to report residents still missing from the wildfires.
Arlen Kawano is at the Family Assistance Center in Kahului, where anxiety is building to reunite with loved ones. Lynn?
Absolutely, Stephen Ke'ahi, as the days drag on, understandably, people are going more frustrated, more concerned. They're just desperate for some kind of answers. So they're now coming to the Family Assistance Center here in Kahului, hoping to get some help.
Maybe my dad is at Maui Prep, or maybe there's some other person from my neighborhood that I would recognize and be like, did you find him? Do you see him anywhere?
Liza Tobias evacuated Tuesday night as flames closed in on her Lahaina home. But her dad, Carlos Tobias, refused to go too. She hasn't seen him since, and after walking into Lahaina, she knows her home burned. She is hoping someone picked him up, and communication problems are keeping him from contacting her. She's not alone.
If I could go over there, I would go to her place, but I heard you couldn't even call the police and ask them to go because of what's going on.
Melinda Young is worried about her friend and co-worker, Mona Cole. She's also trying to remain optimistic, but knows the fast-moving flames took so many by surprise. The Family Assistance Center here at Kahului Community Park is open until 8 o'clock tonight and reopens at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. It's unclear if it will continue through the weekend. We'll keep you posted. I'm Lynn Kawano, Hawaii News Now.
You know, as Chelsea was reporting earlier, the access to several areas in West Maui remains closed right now. So we're going to show you those areas right now. As Maui County officials have put out, the access into West Maui, into Lahaina, is very limited to emergency vehicles only, okay? So you see the purple indicated right there, showing you where the stoppage is. Ma'alai is one checkpoint. And if you go to the other side, Kahakaloa, you're allowed to leave through Kahakaloa, but not allowed to come back in. So on the other side, Wai'ehu is where they have another police blockage point. So be aware of that. That limit to get into that area is still in effect. Only go there with ER vehicles is approved. That's your latest right here on First Alert Traffic on Hawaii News Now.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. We will be tracking a few showers into the night. Right now, 83 degrees over leeward neighborhoods of Maui. You see your hour-by-hour forecast, limited rain as we stretch into the overnight hours. About a 10% chance, at times maybe 15% chance. And then notice afternoon highs have been very warm. We've been sitting in the mid-80s, but now in the low 80s. And we will be tracking that area of high pressure continuing to pull away from us along with Dora. So we're on the backside of that now, and that means much slower winds will be on the way. Typical trade wind speeds of about 10 to 20 miles per hour, at times 10 to 15. Still seeing some wind returns on the map here, so that's an indication that it's still quite breezy in some spots. I'll take a deeper look at when we can expect some more rain coming up in a little bit.
Thank you very much, Jen. It's time for us to take a short break. We'll be back.